In number 4, we're going to use some graphs, and we're going to evaluate, which means find the numerical answer. Bless you. So I'm going to do one example, and then I want you to try the other 3, and we'll come back and talk about them. First of all, remembering that f plus g means look at f, look at g, add them together. This thing is really saying the same thing as, if you want to think about it this way, what is f of negative 2 and add that to g of negative 2. That's really what it's saying. Look at the two functions, add them up. What do f and g of something mean? What's the way that we used to talk about it all the time? F of x, what does that mean?
Y.
The y value. That's all we're asking for. So let's look at the f function first. If I look at the f function, here's the f graph on the left. If I look at the f graph, and I want to talk about f of negative 2. Here's negative 2, and I go up, and that's the f graph. Its y value is 2. So this is 2 for the f. And then I want g of negative 2. So I go over to the g graph. Here's the g graph. Here's negative 2. I go up, and then find the y value, and that's, I think it's 4. It looks like 4 to me. Does it look like 1, 2, 3? Yeah, I'm going to say it's 4 exactly. And then, of course, I would simplify and say that the total is 6.
Okay,
so if I look at the second one in part B, don't worry about the people who are talking. They'll just bomb the test, so it's okay. And I'm trying to plug in negative 1. So I go to negative 1. Check the graph out. And I notice that it's a 3. So this is saying 3. And then I go to the second graph and I look at negative 1. And I go across. And I see that's 3. So I divide by 3. Which means that my final answer is 1. So basically you're only finding the y values and doing something with them. In the next one, I'm looking at f times g of 3, negative 3 that is. So if I look at the first graph, the f graph, and I look at negative 3 for the x value, and then I go across, that y value is 1. So I'm going to go 1 times something. And then looking at the g graph at negative 1, nope, sorry, I mean negative 3. Yikes. What do you think?
5.
Okay, 5. So then I multiply those two things and my answer is 5. Now the strange one, at least kind of strange, is saying f circle g, or composition of functions with g, which means that, which one's on the inside? G. So I go to that one and I know that that's telling me that I want g on the inside. Or in other words, I want f of g of 0. F of g of 0. The 0 is the thing, like the x's and the other numbers that I'm plugging in for the variable, but since g is on the inside, it's going in for g's to start with, and then I do something with it. So let's look at g of 0. G of 0 is 2. That means, if I'm looking at this inside stuff, this g of 0 thing, g of 0 is 2. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to write this as, I want, instead of writing f of g of 0, I really want f of 2. So I go look at the f graph, and I go to 2, and this is kind of annoying, but it would be over here somewhere. So you find f of 2.
Low battery.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. All right. And it looks like probably 6. I could probably figure that out, but it looks like it would be somewhere crossing maybe at 6 up here. I don't know. So 6. And the big idea is, when you're shoving something in like that, you need to know that the inside thing happens first, find it, and then go look at the other one. Questions? Okay, so number 5 here kind of puts everything all together. It uses composition of functions. It gives us some boundaries. It has multiple variables in it. And it's kind of saying, put all this stuff together and how would you kind of use it. So this is kind of a science application. If I look at this composition, what I see is that the TT thing is getting shoved into the n function. So I'm going to write down the n function. The n function, or in other words, n of t is going to be 20 times something squared minus 80 times something, bless you, plus 500. And the thing that's going in there is the TT, of course. T of t. So that's 4t plus 2 in both parentheses. So we're taking the TT function and shoving it into the n function. And the big question is really, and you could simplify this, I'm not going to do that for you, you could simplify it later, that's not really what the big idea is. The question is, what's going on here? So if you look back, n is talking about the number of bacteria. So n is talking about number of bacteria. The little t is time in hours, and the capital T is temperature. Okay, so there's 3 things going on. So when you talk about NTT, what's happening is you're talking about the number of bacteria, which is the N, after T hours. The number of bacteria after T hours. Now the cool thing is, in part B they say, hey, tell me about the bacteria after 2 hours. You can go into your calculator, type in this equation, go down to 2, and boom, there's your answer. So you don't really have to freak out about that. Or I could just write it down, yes. Joe.
What are the inequalities?
So as we plug in the number 2 for hours, what I would be writing down, if I was writing this down, is N T of 2 would be equal to 20 times 4 times 2 plus 2 squared minus 80 times 4 times 2 plus 2 plus 500. Now I suppose I could probably simplify that a little bit if I wanted to.
That should be 20 times 10 squared.
So this is 20 times 4 times 2 is 8 plus 2 is 10, squared is 100, minus 80 times 10 plus 500, which I know this is 2,000 minus 800, which is 1,200 plus 500 is 1,700 bacteria. No calculator necessary. On the other hand, I don't think I would do letter C without a calculator.
Oh, I get it now.
In that one, I think what I would do is I would say y1 is equal to whatever you had for NTT. So type that in your y1. And in y2, you're going to put down, don't think too long, 2,000 And then that's where you go second, trace, 5, enter, enter, arrow, enter. This is finding the intersection place of the two functions, 2000 and the function. And when you do that, and you're going to try that on your own, you should find out that you get 2.22 hours. So you guys try that on your own. See if you can get that in your calculator. The y1 is the function that we came up with up above in brown. Or not brown, excuse me. In purple. And then the second part is the where it's supposed to cross, which is at 2,000 bacteria. Find that on your own. Check it out. You have the rest of the hour to work.